Ha ha ha. Well, if it isn't Godzilla and Kong, my two worthy adversaries. Now, if you'll excuse me before we do our deadly matchup, I'm gonna eat this piece of candy.
Wait, what? Candy? Where'd you get candy? MechaGodzilla, you're a robot. You can't even eat. Yeah, you can't even chew anything.
Well, it doesn't hurt to try, does it?
I don't think you're our worthy adversary anymore. Yeah, honestly, I'd rather fight Ghidorah than you.
Hey, Ichi was a jerk. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another figure review. My name is Matthew, and today we are taking a look at the what might be a very interesting released in the Playmates' now MonsterVerse figure lineup. Today we are taking a look at I think the last figure that they released in the Godzilla vs. Kong line before it was rebranded and refurbished into the MonsterVerse line. The Playmates MonsterVerse MechaGodzilla with the lethal Proton scream. That's right. I finally got my hands on him for a pretty good price, honestly. And honestly, I'm digging it, but let's go over my thoughts, shall we? So, for any longtime viewers of the channel, you may remember back in May of 2022 where I reviewed the original MechaGodzilla with Heath. Newsflash, this is a 100% remold of that figure, so basically nothing from the detail has been changed. Yeah, nothing of the details been changed. But what has been changed are the colors of it. So first we're gonna just briefly start with the head. We're gonna the two beady eyes are obviously painted red, which is pretty dang sweet. And it's overall casted in a very darker silver plastic, which keep in mind this is meant to recreate when he's in like the whole apex base and he's shooting the proton scream at the skullcrawler, which if you didn't know, that's actually what it's based on because it is a darker lit scene, so this perfectly matches it because he was outside in Hong Kong, so it really wouldn't make sense. So, but yeah, this is kind of what he's based on, and let me just say, I'm digging it. Although I definitely do think that there are some things that they could have done. For example, you remember me pointing out these two little eyes? Yeah, that's all the paint. Yeah, look. Look at the entire body. Everything, well, I mean, I guess that counts as paint? Kind of. I mean, it's more of a stamp than anything. Cat fur. But that is literally all of it. That is literally all the paint. I'm not joking. There is no other color variety. I mean, it's fine, but especially for a $10 figure, but it's not really like I'm gonna save this more so for the comparison, but you'll see that with the original, um, it has a bit more paint variety. Yeah, it's very subtle, but it's definitely, you know, still more. You have the shiny dry brushing of silver and some red spots right here. Well, on the Battle Mecha Godzilla, it's nowhere to be found. I mean, maybe the dry brushing is there, but damn, because of the color of the body, I really cannot tell. But moving forward with the detail, it's honestly pretty dang sweet still. Because it shares the same mold, it's very accurate to the movie with a lot of like mechanical detail. And I think out of all three of like Godzilla, Kong, and Mechagodzilla, he's definitely the most detailed. I mean, of course, he's a cyborg. Robots might be more detailed in a lot of circumstances than heck, even organic animals, so I guess it makes sense. So yeah, you got like all the different kind of details with the pistons and stuff, all that fancy jazz, especially that one particular area. But of course, you got like the little rib cage kind of poking through, kind of have like little rectangular area bits. I mean, it's pretty well done. Uh, the hip pads or leg pads? No, those would be nah. I'm confusing myself. And shoulder pads, pretty well done. And of course, the mouth, the cannon isn't there, sadly. But I mean, it is what it is. And of course, let's go ahead and talk about it. The drill. You thought I was going to talk about that. Well, don't worry, we're getting to that. The drill is pretty sweet, along with that long segmented tail that has the same details up until it gets a little bit minute and, right there. But it's overall pretty sweet detail. And then we come to the dorsal fins. The dorsal fins are literally beautiful on this thing. I love the color choice, and even though MechaGodzilla's dorsal fins never lit up in the movie when he did his Proton scream, at least I don't remember them lighting up. I think they did maybe glow. No, they definitely didn't glow because they were like primarily silver, and then they had the red tips over them. This is just completely gorgeous. You shine a light through this thing, and it'll just look amazing. But of course, there's like this segment to here, and then from this segment to here. So this is honestly amazing, and to be frank, I'm digging this a lot. So yeah, a lot of the kind of chest details kind of go over, and yeah, that's really all the details I have to point out about this guy. Again, he's a very simplistic, not simplistic, not too much going on. Arms, thing like that, feet kind of look like Godzilla's, a bit more webby and spread out, but again, it's a remold of a previous figure I've already reviewed, so, this is still rather good in the detail department and sculpt. Can't really say so much about paint. I feel like this should have been more. I like the translucent plastic, but paint is normally judged on a completely different category altogether, not just conjoined with sculpt, so don't know how to feel about that one. I mean, it's fine. I can give it a pass. So, next, let's go over the articulation. And again, because it's a remold, you expect the same exact posability, but let's say you're new to this figure. The jaw can obviously open and close. There is no head articulation, even though there's a seam line, the spines lock it into place, especially because it's plugged in on the body on a big square peg like Godzilla was. So you wouldn't been able to get any head rotation, even if you wanted to. You just would break it right off. The shoulders have swivel hinges, so you can kind of go up about that far, down about that far. Can pretty much rotate and can actually spin inside the socket, which is pretty cool. Do keep in mind that the shoulder flaps, shoulder pads, are made of a slightly flexible material, so they won't get in the way too much, although when you try to rotate the shoulder up, you will receive some hindrance. If we go over here to the legs, they can spread out. Again, kind of ratchets. They're not exactly ratchets. They're more like soft versions of ratchets. So you have one click, two clicks. They kind of click in, not too much, but can kick back about that far, forward about that far, and can swivel like that. Knee, bend at the knee, really solid too. I like how tight it is. And a pretty free swivel at the foot. Same on each side. No, there's not any elbow or wrist articulation, and definitely nothing at the waist. The tail has one big ball joint at the base of it, and nothing at the other sections of the tail. Even though it does look like there's a bendy wire in there, I assure you there's not. And if you try to bend this, you're probably going to end up ripping the spines off of it because it is glued in there. And now for the accessories, which we are starting off with the accessory that I think everyone's been looking forward to. We're starting with the battle damage. Of course, the battle damage is technically an accessory because it does come packaged separately, not to mention when they're making these figures, this is the mold that they're working with, and then this is kind of more of an after thing. So, I mean, yeah, it's the literal chest sculpt, but this looks still incredible. I mean, yeah, you can kind of see straight through the figure, but it's necessary, You could take Kong's axe to this and just whabam. I mean, it kind of did that in the movie, even though it was more of a slash instead of just whoosh, just shearing it off. But basically, how you put it on, it's never been more simple. Kind of looks a little sussy, but yeah, it's just kind of a. It's more the same in terms of quality, but in terms of like the detail work. But let's go over the accessory that I actually think people are most here to see, the Proton Scream, which the Proton Scream here is interesting. I say it's interesting because if you remember, obviously we are all kind of aware that Playmates would do this. This is literally a remold of a remold. Now, I know what you're saying. What? Yeah, what people don't actually know is this is the SH Monsters Godzilla 2014-2019 heat ray effect, atomic breath blast effect heat ray, and just flipped upside down and softened. I did a very, very, very detailed side by side. Pretty, and the details are pretty much a perfect match. I mean, there's Godzilla's beam is so chaotic, so it's impossible to get the. It's almost impossible to get the same details like that twice. So, but I mean, the beam effect itself for Godzilla, it's definitely pretty good. You know, it looks beautiful. Honestly, it matches his blue dorsal fins, but the Proton Scream, in my opinion, looks a little too opaque. I know that sounds like a weird thing to complain about, but just look at this, and then look at this. You see what I'm talking about? It's a little too opaque for my liking. I mean, yeah, it's very minor, but of course, the beam effect still looks good. But I mean, movie accuracy kind of kicks me in here because this is not what his beam looked like in the movie. It had a bit of more of a spiral, if you remember back to the movie. Like, if you remember actually back to the movie, it had a bit more like electricity. Because this is a remold of Godzilla's beam, which, keep in mind, Godzilla's much more plasma fire-like in terms of appearance. It's not just a solid beam, at least some of the time. It looks more flame-like. This looks more, you know, plasma-like. But I mean, movie accuracy aside, it does get the job done, which how you attach the accessories never been easier. All you just gotta do is spot that hole in the mouth, put the peg upward, shove the peg into the hole, as you do, giggity, and then clamp up the jaw. Keep in mind, you are gonna want to clamp up the jaw. And here you go. MechaGodzilla's lethal Proton Scream. It was a little short, but I mean, it's all good. But I do also gotta say, mine's kind of a loose fit. Yeah, you see that? Mine just kind of rolled over inside the socket, so kind of jostling it around in there. It looks the part, but it just doesn't hold in well, you know? I've seen a lot of other reviews where it does hold in pretty well, because keep in mind, your kids are going to be bashing this around like there's no tomorrow. So, I mean, this looks incredible, though. So, but the accessories for what you do get, it's a pretty good, honestly. Pretty good amount. And you know, now thinking about it, I wonder what it looks like with Godzilla spewing out the beam. Oh my gosh, this is something I would kill to see on the big screen. Please, if they do this in Godzilla and Kong against like Space Godzilla or something, this for like maybe the final finisher move, this would be flipping amazing to see. You see this? Like, come on, please, Adam Wingard, do this. I would be so amazed to see this. Toho, Legendary, Warner Brothers, whoever's in charge of this movie, please make it happen. Yes, I'm including the beam effects in the size comparison because why not? But anyways, here's a size comparison with his co-stars in the movie, Godzilla with Heat Ray and the Kong with Battle Axe from the MonsterVerse Playmates series line. And as you guys can see, they are, well, in terms of scale goes, I definitely do think that MechaGodzilla and Godzilla are definitely in scale with each other, because Godzilla proportionally looked about this size and MechaGodzilla was again proportionally about this size. Because like, keep in mind, MechaGodzilla wasn't all that much bigger than Godzilla was. because we're talking about 400 feet versus 393 feet, I think. 394 feet? One of the two. And Kong himself is only supposed to be like 335 or 70 feet. So Kong definitely is hero oversized, but I think in terms of like a toy kind of thing, you could honestly be, come on, this is perfect for toy scaling at least. And here he is next to his original figure release, the original MechaGodzilla with Heave figure, which, as you can see, the differences between these two are night and day. No pun intended or all pun intended. I really don't care. I don't care. This is honestly quite a really good comparison right here, because like you literally have your option. Do you want MechaGodzilla with a vehicle and pretty much more close standard to color, or do you want a more like testing facility? And it comes with a pretty neat beam effect, honestly. So pick your poison, and we'll see where you go from there. And for another size comparison, here he is next to some classic Toho series figures, which we have the Godzilla, Shin Godzilla from Godzilla Resurgence, Shin Godzilla version 2, actually, because this one's a remold of Shin Godzilla, and the Playmates Space Godzilla from, of course, the Wave 1, and it's surprisingly still a relevant figure. Huh, surprisingly no remold. But hey, I guess that means, I guess you're an OG? Yeah, you're definitely an OG. And here he is next to some older Godzilla and Kong figures from, of course, the Wave Series 1 line, when it was still called Godzilla and Kong, with Playmates Destroya and Playmates Kong from Kong Skull Island, 2017. And for the last size comparison, here he is next to some other figures, more miscellaneous, with the Playmates 2004 Godzilla from Final Wars, from the Toho Classic Series lineup, and the NECA Godzilla 2014, and from Godzilla, which is still my all-time favorite figure in the entire collection, which you might notice I have an Angry Bird here. Well, more specifically, Red, the dog toy. Because very soon, we are going to be seeing these three on screen together. Stay tuned, everybody. And I'm talking about a channel project. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the Angry Birds and Godzilla show. And for some more size comparisons, because I'm actually feeling it, here he is next to the Playmates Funko Pop MechaGodzillas. Keep in mind, I have duplicates from separate sets, because he was originally bought in a 3-pack from BAM, and he was bought individually. Let's just squeeze one more in here. Here he is next to the Playmates Skullcrawler, which we all know what happens next step for these two. And so, what do I overall think of this figure? It's honestly a very, very, very stellar release. It's very solid. I definitely do think that this figure should not be bought alone if you're planning to buy this, because remember, this is only $10. $10. So that basically means you can get all the other figures for $10 each. So what you're basically looking at here on screen is a $30 worth value for 3 figures, 3 battle damage pieces, and 3 unique accessories each. You can't go wrong with that. You really can't. Anyways, that's all for this video. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. Jesus loves you. God bless you all. Go out there and spread the gospel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.